Great, it's Thursday and we're going live again, and I can see both Insta and Facebook are live, so I'm incredibly excited when technology works together. So it is Thursday and I do a continued education session every single Thursday to teach all of you more about essential oils. It's something of a pet passion for me. Really love working with natural solutions. And today we are going to be talking about a really powerful chemical constituent which is prevalent in probably only one of the essential oils that you routinely use in your household. So welcome. We are going to be speaking about menthol today. My name, of course, being Tanya Jooste. I'm coming from my page Botanicamy, Alchemy of Soothing Botanic Ingredients. And yes, you can catch me live every single Thursday, or of course, share with your friends, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel because I do have the replays available for all the various series that I've done before on my YouTube under different playlists. Welcome, Bev. I can see you've just logged in. I really enjoy having you on my sessions every week as well, coming to learn a little bit more about the oils. So as people start logging in, just a reminder, you are able to subscribe to both my Telegram channel as well as my YouTube so that you can be reminded of these sessions on a Thursday. And pretty much soonish, I guess we will have to go live on YouTube at the same time. Gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna run three devices all at the same time, but I think it's quite exciting, and we will get there. So welcome, Jill. I can see you've just logged in on Facebook as well. Just a reminder, if you want to shout out, put something in the comments. Give me some hearts, give me a wave so that I know that you're there, so that I can mention you. So it is 12:02, so I'm going to start with the menthol lesson today. And menthol is quite exciting because even though it is one of the most researched and one of the chemical constituents that we've known about for the longest time, it gets used for several different supporting health challenges, but also in a preventative health strategy. It's only found in a very small percentage of oils, mostly the mints, so corn mint, and peppermint, but not spearmint. I'll mention today how those two differ specifically. So a menthol is a monocyclic, one circle, monoterpenoid, so we know a little bit more about the monoterpenes by now, and an alcohol, not the alcoholic beverages. It's not going to make you drunk. Definitely not that. I can see Janine is also just logged in on Facebook. Welcome, welcome. So if we talk about specifically the monoterpene and the alcohol functional group, this is what it looks like. So this is methanol. There we go. We did a little bit of science drawing again. So you've got your backbone over there, right? Your carbon and your hydrogen backbone. It's one circle, so it is only a monocyclic, right? And then at the top here, you can find the functional group, which is the alcohol. And all the alcohol means is that it is an oxygen over there, which is on the one side linked to the carbon backbone over here, and on the other side to a hydrogen. So that is what makes it an alcohol. Right, so there we have the methanol. Right, menthol. Methanol, listen to me. Methanol is quite toxic. Menthol, there we go. So I can see that people are starting to share the live. Fantastic. Get this out to your friends that need to hear. I can see that Alka's joined in all the way from Belgium. Welcome on Insta. Also, Engela's just joined. Welcome, Engela. Glad you could join today. So yes, we're dealing with the single circle alcohol, not the kind that makes you drunk. All right. And alcohol, obviously, as I said, it's got the carbon backbone on the one side, and then it's got the hydrogen on the other side. And the properties of alcohol containing essential oils are used aromatically, topically, as well as internally, especially if you're going to be using a tested grade essential oil. Remember, that's quite important. You can't just use any kind of essential oil, especially if the label says not for internal use. Please reach out to me if you don't know where to get hold of a tested grade essential oil, because I can get these oils to you so you can also start using them internally. They have really amazing benefits, and because they're so incredibly potent, your dosages are also incredibly low. So it is actually quite a valuable asset to have, because they do come in really cheaply when you use the right dosage amounts. I can also see Michael's just joined. Welcome, welcome. So if we look at specifically the properties of alcohol containing essential oils, when we use them aromatically, they are traditionally very relaxing. They help to soothe anxious feelings, right? when you're going to be using them topically, they're very cleansing. And at the same time, they may have repellent activities. And that's going to be quite cool when we mention how we use specifically the essential oils that are high in the menthols. And then internally, we can use them to support the circulatory system. They also calm the nervous system. And when we talk specifically about menthol today, there are additional body systems that are actually supported by this particular alcohol group. So the menthol is found in several varieties of mint, but there's probably only 2 that are commercially produced as essential oils. And the first obviously being peppermint, and the second is corn mint. And peppermint and corn mint are closely related in a sense to aromatic compounds to each other, and that menthol or the component that you're smelling in the peppermint that is so incredibly distinct, which is what you also find in the corn mint, is that menthol molecule. Now, this is where I would like to just remind you, menthol is very good for respiratory support, all right? It's also very cleansing, and it's primarily known for its skin cooling effect. There are several other systems that also benefit from the menthol. So pest repelling, for example, and we'll get to that in a little bit of detail. But the thing that I want to just highlight here is that spearmint is completely different to peppermint in chemical constituent. It also smells completely different. Spearmint is actually more related to dill than it is to peppermint when you look at the chemistry of the essential oil. So this is where I sort of cringe sometimes when I hear people say that spearmint is going to open up your airways, because unfortunately that is not the whole truth. Spearmint is actually a lot better for digestive health because of the ketone carvone, which is the main chemical constituent in spearmint. But not to worry, peppermint is also incredibly good for digestive health because it also has that ketone in there. And in the case of peppermint, I just want to check the percentage here. It's got menthone at 10 to 30%, depending on whose you are using. So the chemical constituents in peppermint, menthol being the highest, between 20 to 60%, depending on which brand you're using. And the menthone, which is the digestive support, together with the menthol, which also provides digestive support, that is then for the respiratory side, the menthol. All right, so spearmint, please remember, very good for digestive. Menthol is probably the one in peppermint is what you're going to be looking for in the respiratory support section. So when we look at the uses internally specifically for peppermint, because this is the only oil that we really do have the menthol in an incredibly high concentration in, is it promotes not only healthy, clear breathing, but it also is going to support cellular health when you're going to be using it specifically internally. Let's just go back a little bit in history and see how long we've known about menthol actually. So even if you're not familiar with essential oils, I don't know, I used to use menthol crystals in university days when I had a lot of congestion in my sinus areas. And there were these crystals that I was able to purchase from any good pharmacy. And they're really pretty, actually. They look like mini sort of quartz crystals, actually. And they came in a container, and you would put them into a glass bottle with some boiled water that had been cooled down slightly, and you would use it to steam. And oh boy, was it incredibly strong, right? If you could get that inhalation going with sort of a towel around your head tinted, then it really opened up those airways. Now, those menthol crystals you buy are actually synthetic. And there's, in history, they're suggesting that Japan was the very first to use menthol, and they've got records dating back to the 1st century after death, so very, very old already. And then in the Western world, menthol was first isolated in Germany in the late 18th century. So really one of those chemical constituents that we have known about for an incredibly long period of time. And that's also why it's one of the most researched chemical constituents. I can see Mandy's also just logged in. Welcome, welcome. So it's a very exciting molecule, especially for a scientist, because it means there's already a lot of experimental research and even clinical trials available for this very specific chemical constituent. The problem is that the demand for menthol in things like beauty products, skin lotions, toothpaste, any breath fresheners, chewing gums, all of those things very much far exceeds what can be produced naturally. So that means if you're not using a pure tested grade essential oil, you're probably purchasing something that has been synthesized in a laboratory. So just take note of that, because all of the properties I'm going to mention today are very particular to having it in an essential oil together with the other components that are present in there, and that they synergistically work together to provide a health benefit for your body. But there are a lot of synthetic versions of menthol out there, because not only because of the cleansing properties, for example, but the fact that it is really able to energize you and make you feel alive and joyful. And let's get to that very specific emotional side of, and I'm going to talk specifically about peppermint essential oil here, because the menthol in there is incredibly high, especially if you're using the tested grade brand that I'm using. I can see Sharon's just logged in. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you on. So peppermint, they call it the oil of a buoyant heart. So it brings joy and buoyancy to your heart and your soul. It wakes you up in a sense where it invigorates not only your body, but also your mind and your spirit. And it reminds us that we really can enjoy life and that life can be happy. So it's a really amazing oil. And I actually use peppermint daily in my home. And it's always good when I do the research afterwards, because I do have a sort of affinity to certain oils that I really enjoy using. And then when you read through the research, you start understanding why you actually have an affinity for that particular oil. Catherine's just also logged in on Facebook. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you on. So using the peppermint also is very incredible when you're dealing with emotional pain, which becomes rather unbearable. So the peppermint sort of can give you a step back, a breather in a sense. So a reprieve, and it's going to allow you to sort of prepare when you've got to re-enter that emotional water stage that you're going to go into. Emotions are always connected with water when you start looking at some of the research. And emotions are also linked to air, the air element. So both water and the air, but the air being more the mental, in other words, the mental capacity, the mental fatigue that comes with not being able to deal with something emotionally draining. So water definitely plays a very important role, that the particular element. And it helps you to just take that step back, because when we don't deal with our emotions and there's a lot of emotional pain, you tend to store it away and it sort of presents in your body in physical discomfort over a long period of time. But what the peppermint or the menthol is going to do is it's just going to help you prepare to get back into that emotional state, because an emotional pain can actually be a really good teacher. And it's going to help you prepare for this. So it's going to bring back that optimism and relief and strength to face what it is that you need to be dealing with and that is coming in your emotional state. So really, really powerful, simple oil, peppermint on the emotional side. Let's now look at the physical side, because it is incredibly versatile, and I'm hoping I'm not going to go too over time today, because there's just such a large body of evidence on menthol and peppermint already. I would like to share most of it with you, but I'm just going to share the absolute pointers which I find really incredible and hitting home like with a hard punch. So clinical and experimental research has shown that peppermint is really cooling to the skin. There's a really good reason why a lot of these lotions that they provide to support any kind of discomfort that you're feeling in your body, whether it's muscular or joint related, because it gives that cooling sensation. And what is actually causing that? It's really cool. I think it's really cool. There are these receptors. And there's like a calcium channel, all right? So it's ions moving in and out. And before I get too scientific, basically what the menthol does is it activates, or it sort of stimulates that receptor. And those receptors are cold sensitive, which means you're gonna feel cooler when you're going to be using an essential oil that is high in menthol, like peppermint. Now these particular receptors are actually found in the skin. So in other words, in your membranes of your sensory neurons that you find in your skin, but they're also found in blood vessels, the respiratory tract, the urinary system, as well as the prostate. Really, really cool to know where all these receptors sit, because then you can see why essential oils, specifically in peppermint, can therefore be used internally very effectively as well. Tandeka's also just joined. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you on. So peppermint is found, as I said, in very many cooling lotions when you've hurt yourself. So if you're out of that particular lotion, or you're out of your favorite discomfort blend that you might be using, you can simply reach for the peppermint as well. Simply adding 1 to 2 drops of the peppermint in some carrier oil and applying it to the area locally is going to allow it a nice penetration time, and it's going to get into the cells and give you that skin cooling effect, which is really, really amazing, especially when you start thinking about head tension. I obviously get head tension quite often. I'm a very high-strung person. It's what it is. So I like to use peppermint very often. And I remember back to the days when I went to the hairdresser quite often, because that was sort of my spa treatment. I don't necessarily like people touching me, so massages and all kinds of things is not really my thing, but someone can really massage my head. That is just absolutely amazing. And I used to have the tendency, when I went to go and do my hair, to ask them to wash my hair in as cool water as possible. I like washing my hair with cold water because that's got that cooling sensation and it relieves that tension. And here's a top tip. You can add peppermint to that sort of treatment in a sense, because that's also going to be really stimulating for the scalp, and it's going to give you that cooling effect, which relieves head tension as well. So either put it on the pulse points, or you can massage it into your scalp with some carrier oil, or use it when you're washing and conditioning your hair. Very good skin supporting benefit from using peppermint as well. It's incredibly cleansing, and what that means, it has got some antibacterial properties, and that's coming from the monoterpene chemical constituent backbone, of course. And it's also really good for skin blemishes. There's a lot of brands out there. One name comes to mind of a product that I used to buy called Magnaminty. I really love that name, and it was a facial mask that they made with peppermint essential oil in it. And I just make all of these things at home now, but it was really refreshing and revitalizing. And it made your skin tingle. It was just really happy and joyful. Really, really cool. So really good essential oil to be using specifically to support or reduce the appearance of blemishes on your skin. The reason why we always talk about peppermint as being an incredibly energizing oil, late afternoon fatigue, for example, is because it also has a cooling and soothing effect, especially on the respiratory tract. And now you know those receptors are also sitting inside those cells. So they are going to be activated and they're going to feel cooler and more relieved, right? And because of that, and your ability then to inhale appropriately and respond appropriately, it's going to make you feel incredibly energized. Because this oil is also safe to be used internally when you're using a tested grade essential oil, the way that I support my energy levels, especially later in the afternoon, for example, if I have not been eating that well during the day, if I eat like I'm supposed to eat, then I actually have no fatigue. Diet plays an incredible role in fatigue. But if I do find that I haven't slept as well the night before, I haven't had the right food that day, peppermint really goes a long way in energizing me again and just helping me to get going. But I like to put a drop or two under my tongue, because then I'm doing several things at the same time. Not only is it really good in cleansing and supporting your mouth because of its ability to sort of decrease the proliferation of Streptococcus mutans. It's one of the bacteria that likes growing in your mouth that can cause quite a, it's sort of the first organism that's going to make a nice niche for all the other gingivitis and all kinds of other bugs that are going to come in there. So it's really good for freshening the breath. It's going to open up the airways because it's just below all the just below on the inside of the mouth, just below the nose. It's going to open up the airways, and it's going to support really good digestive health as well. So I'm sort of doing a lot of things all at the same time with 1 or 2 drops of essential oil that I place underneath my tongue. It's really, really a fantastic essential oil for all of those. And if you do want to put it in a diffuser, because you may be under the age of 12, obviously some tested grade essential oils, they're so potent that they shouldn't be used around young bodies. They're too teeny tiny. Then you can definitely add it in the diffuser, especially if you're dealing with the congestion kind of issue because of the pollen that's around or the dust that's around. I know there's a waste facility around the corner from us, which is actually illegally doing things that they shouldn't be doing again. And at night, there's like this fog that hangs over, and that is a lot of toxins in the air. And then I really do struggle with my respiratory tract. So putting peppermint, lemon, and lavender in a diffuser is a really good idea. Not too much peppermint because it may wake you up, right? So rather do it, I'd say 2 hours before you go to bed, so everything is nice and clear before you do go to bed. But that is a really good combination to put inside a diffuser. It's not only cleansing for the skin. it's also really cleansing for surfaces, and at the same time packs a punch as a repellent for insects. So why not make a low toxin cleaner for your surfaces at home by adding some peppermint to your citrus essential oil, which is high in limonene, degreasing, also cleansing, combining the power of those two, for example, wild orange with some peppermint, and you're going to keep the flies and the things away as well, because the peppermint is really supportive as an insect repellent. So on the digestive system, there's two things that are really important in my life, and that is supporting digestive health, but also mental clarity, because I like to be at the top of my game 100% all day long until I fall over on my pillow at night. So let's talk about the digestive health. It's what we call a carminative, right? So it the bloating, the gas, it gets rid of that. It's really soothing to the gut as well. And at the same time, because of the menthone that's in there, there's additional digestive support. So it's a really good idea to be using peppermint essential oil. And if you are going to be using it topically, when you have a tender tummy, try and combine it with something like copahiba or copaiba, and applying that topically to your tummy area. That is a very good combination, I find, especially when you have got some kind of tummy trouble going on and there's some kind of discomfort. And then, of course, it's also got additional abilities in the top uses because of its ability to decrease occasional nausea, for example, that queasy feeling that you get. So peppermint is really an all-rounder in supporting the digestive system and the digestive tract. The very much standout thing for me about menthol is the mental support that it provides you, cognitive function. There's some really nice clinical research highlighting that peppermint essential oil has a very positive effect on cognition as a result, again, of certain receptors that are triggered. So it also supports you during strenuous mental activity. So when you're, doing a maths exam or a biochemistry exam, when you're doing really difficult mental tasks, peppermint in clinical trials have been shown to activate that certain receptor, which is going to help ease the difficultness level. That is a really bad English word. My English is finished, Afrikaans person here. It helps in the execution of difficult tasks. Okay, that was a made-up word there for me. But not only that, peppermint actually during this clinical trial significantly reduced cognitive fatigue. So if you are dealing with a little bit of fatigue, whether it be energy-wise or whether it's just your brain that's just not functioning so well, there's a lot of diseases that actually cause quite a lot of mental fatigue for a long period afterwards. So they call it like the long haul symptoms. Peppermint can definitely be an essential oil that's going to support you through those stages, just to give you a little bit of a pick-me-up in the afternoons. So you can see the menthol and peppermint is really, really incredible. And I can't now go through a list through all of the other essential oils that you can replace it with, because surprise, surprise, peppermint is almost the only essential oil, unless you can get some corn mint, obviously. But peppermint is the most well-known or most available essential oil with the highest menthol concentration in it. So if you do want to go for those menthols, then definitely reach for the peppermint essential oil. There is actually very few reports of a menthol allergy if we start looking at the safety, but definitely there are reports where there's been nasal instillation of liquids high in menthol that have been incredibly hazardous for very small children. Now there's 4 cases that I can find in Tisserand's safety guide, but here the caregiver or the mother placed the menthol, very high concentration, inside the nasal cavity of between 1 to 3 month old babies. I'm just going to say, what? No, just don't do that. Of course, you're going to have a side effect or a serious adverse reaction to that. All right. Peppermint is incredibly powerful. It takes your breath away. That is what it does. So please err on the side of safety, especially around little ones. Peppermint with the high menthol concentration is actually very, very strong. We aren't supposed to put essential oils anywhere inside our noses anyway. Nowhere inside the nose, inside the eyes, or inside the ears. So please, moms, please just don't do that. All right. That is why there is unsafe reports specifically for menthol in the safety data, because of people, again, not necessarily reading the guidelines and not adhering to safe dilution rates. And a baby between 1 and 3 months old is really too small to be putting any kind of essential oil very close to their bodies. Aromatic is better in a diffuser quite far away, definitely not up inside their noses, okay? So, very important, that one. It's also contraindicated for people who specifically have what they call a G6PD deficiency. Now, that is a big word, but basically it's an enzyme that the people don't have enough of, and there's very specific medications that they cannot use. If you're one of those people, you will know that by now. You would have been diagnosed by a medical professional in any event. And this is basically a condition where your red blood cells have some kind of, your genes coding for the red blood cells there is something that's not perfectly normal there. So your red blood cells degrade too soon, and usually certain medications and certain essential oils are contraindicated for these individuals. So if you do have that condition, please stay clear or actually use the peppermint with a lot of caution. All right. So Sharon is asking about how much menthol does spearmint have, and I'm glad she's bringing that up again because she missed the first 5 minutes. Always remember you can watch the replay on my YouTube channel, but the reason why I mentioned spearmint is because spearmint does not contain any menthol at all. It is actually not going to be very, very supportive for respiratory support. It's very good for digestive support because of the other molecules that is in spearmint. So spearmint, digestive, peppermint, respiratory. That's how you make the distinction between the two. But peppermint is also, of course, very good for the digestive support. All right, so spearmint has no menthol. I hope I answered that for you, Sharon. All right, so in conclusion, peppermint is one of my absolute favorite essential oils. I use it daily in my home because I make surface cleansers with it. We do have a lot of flies at the moment. I live close to a cow farm. Flies, yes. And obviously it's springtime, so people are putting around a lot of organic compost and things, and then they attract the flies as well. So peppermint is close in my kitchen. I may have said spearmint now earlier, coming it out of my mouth. I meant peppermint. Peppermint is very good for the insect repelling. Spearmint actually as well, when you read some of the plant books on how you're going to repel insects, specifically on your organic veggies. But peppermint is incredibly good for that. It's also very cleansing for the surfaces, all right? Cognitive support, incredible for respiratory health, very, very good for digestive health. So peppermint is one of those essential oils that I hope you do start using a lot more routinely. I certainly do. It's one of my favorites. So yes, hope you had a really good lesson today. Thank you so much for joining. Always catch the replay on my YouTube channel if you would like. You're very free to come and share my Instagram as well as my Facebook post with regards to this particular live. And if you do want to be reminded about the lives that are happening every single week, join my Telegram channel, and the way you would do that is please pop into the comments Telegram and I'll just send you the link and you can join. It doesn't matter if you're part of my organization or not at all. Anyone is free to join my Telegram channel. And I just also want to give a shout out. We are having an amazing convention coming up. It starts tomorrow in Joburg, and then there's a couple of dates coming up through South Africa where we are going to be speaking at convention about the science behind oils, why they do what they do, why quality is so incredibly important. And I'm very fortunate that I'm also speaking at our events in Johannesburg on Saturday. Both events, both the Saturday morning and the Saturday afternoon at our Evolve convention. If you don't have a ticket yet and you would like to come and see what oils are about, please pop it into the comments. Just say Evolve and I'll send you that link so you can go and buy your ticket. There is still time left. It's a very small fee. It's just so that we know how many people are going to be coming. There may be a freebie for you as well, because obviously we do need to comply with COVID regulations and the seats are limited. So if you don't have a ticket yet, please go and get those soon. And you will also see that there's many other cities available. It's not just happening in Joburg, it's all over the country. So pop Evolve into the comments if you don't have a ticket yet and you're interested, because then I can send you that link. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you all again next week, Thursday, for my next live. And go and grab some peppermint. And let's be joyful and increase our mental agility for the rest of today. Have a great day. Cheerio.